We left on a cliffhanger last episode.
Yes, we did.
And it's time.
Literally in the middle of a sentence.
Really?
Almost.
Did you edit it to be that way?
Kind of.
Jim.
Yeah.
Why?
'Cause.
That's so mean.
No. Because I'm going to use this bit to explain real quick when we get to that point where we left off and what we're coming into.
Last time on Bravo for the B-side.
We were talking about Netflix. We were talking about the generic sameness of a lot of their productions, not the stuff they get like from South Korea and, the foreign stuff. But the Netflix studio stuff has a very singular look, feel, pace. And I had mentioned it was like Stepford Wives uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
It's weird.
Yeah, because every film, a filmmaker, yeah, anything, the person behind it has a sense, and that comes with the color grading, color correction, everything that's in post-production and the initial setup, all that comes together. Like Blade Runner would not have survived at all in the theaters if they had taken like a generic Star Wars look and approach.
Right.
Right. Anyway, so as you start listening to this, David's, we're coming off of the whole Netflix thing and David's responding, and, that's where that is.
All right. Should we hop in?
Yeah. And buckle in, folks, because there's a big wave at the end of information.
That was me buckling.
And that was awesome. You didn't even have to say it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Shall we dive in?
Are you going to buckle in?
Huh?
Are you going to buckle in?
I thought I was steering this thing. I need to be loosey-goosey. I'm making all this movement here. Bad radio.
Click. Click. You have a 5-point hardest.
Oh, are you locking me in?
Yeah.
Fine.
Let's
okay.
Go.
Let's do it.
So I don't know much about Netflix's production requirements, but I imagine that they, with many filmmakers, they essentially deliver a bullet point list of technical specs, right? That constrain what cameras you can choose, what lenses you can choose, more importantly. Yeah. And we obviously don't have those constraints. So. Right. We shot this on a Blackmagic 4K camera, which is a fine camera, but it's not like there's not a super ton of data in those shots, in those images. So it's a little bit soft, but more importantly, I could choose whatever lenses I wanted. And I've got expensive lenses. I've got lenses that are more expensive than my camera body. But those aren't the lenses. Those aren't the lenses that I use most of the time. After a few shots in Bae Wolf, fucking around with these expensive lenses that were too crisp and too clean, I did what I should have done from shot one, which is I dug my old $20 Helios 58 millimeter lens, which is a 1970s vintage Soviet lens made out of melted down tanks, which is this just gorgeous, textured, warm, fast, fairly not wide, but a kind of medium prime lens, that is good for you could shoot the entire movie on this thing. And we did. We shot 90% of it on this one lens. But that's a garbage lens. I mean, you can buy that thing online for nothing. No one uses it except me. And Netflix certainly is going to let you use it, but it was perfect for this movie.
Right. And I agree. I think they do have a list, but I also know like the stuff that they produce and create themselves. I think it's like, a studio shoot. And then when they're done, the next series or movie is going to come in and just, change the set, but use all the same stuff. Cause it's that sameness feeling. And I know what you're talking about lenses. Again, as a photographer, I was always very finicky. What am I going to do? What am I looking for? I'm going out and I'm going to do some landscape photography, but today I'm going to do a 50 millimeter fixed, prime lens, and that's it. And I'm going to make it happen with that, because that lens is going to give me the ambient feeling of the image that I'm going to go for, no matter what the image is, rather than, spending all day trying to figure out, well, how would this look better this way? How would this look better that way? Should I use this, the long lens? Should I use a fast lens? Should I use a slower lens? Nope, I'm going to go for this look. And I think going for the look helps deliver a final product that is magnificent, because whatever's going on screen, you can't make Morgan and Cleve and everyone else, okay, look soft, get a little fuzzy.
Right. If Netflix wants its movies to look better, it should spend less money on them.
Yeah, probably.
I fully agree. Oh man. Did anybody worry about, or actually, I'm not going to say worry about, anybody put any energy into like the period or like the dress and stuff? Because the one thing that we loved about this, I think above everything else, is that you didn't use period language. It was just...
We discussed it at the beginning, and David said, we're not making period movie, nobody trying to speak German, which I could, or Danish. I channeled my inner Dane because my grandfather's from Denmark. So that's probably all I did. And of course, our set pieces, they look medieval, but they're obviously not accurate at all for the time. So no, we're concentrating, as David made it clear in the beginning, we're concentrating on making a good movie and not making an accurate movie. Because people who watch our movies would never complain about, this is a shield from the 15th century and not from the 8th century. Like, I know this because I researched this for years. So, of course, there's no laser gun, but we had swords and shields and helmets, but they're obviously not authentic.
Well, right. I mean, yeah, we could be nigglers and, because we're into all this stuff, but it didn't matter because, again, it was the story, and it wasn't necessarily, you didn't even have to say it was that particular time that the poem takes place in, right? It's just a happening thing. But the modern language was just, it was wonderful, and kind of refreshing. But I asked about the preparation because we're working on putting together a short where the main character is a stonemason. And we're like, well, if we need to build a visual around this, I don't know anything about stonemasonry. I'm an IT guy. Why the hell would I know anything about stonemasonry? So I actually found a 4th generation stonemason here in town, spent a day with him taking notes, and he showed me how it worked, the tools they use, gave me some really good advice on, where the calluses appear on a stonemason's hand, how they work with it. Cause, the opening shot of this whole thing is a guy working with stone, and, showed me all the old tools from his great grandfather. Now how accurate we're going to get based on that knowledge, I don't know. But it was, so you're not making a period piece, but was there any like brackets in here? Like we want to make sure nobody's wearing a wristwatch, just kind of thing where, you're not going for that authentic moment in time. But were there things like, we just don't want this, or you just rolled with, we got the costumes, we got the set, and that's what we're going to see, so let's make it work?
First of all, Bae Wolf isn't true. It didn't really happen. So it's not like Bae Wolf is a period piece. I mean, it was written at a time by a guy, right? But it's not history, and even history is mostly lies. So, I mean, what is a period piece? I don't know. I can disappear down this rabbit hole for a long time. We made a movie. It's not real. It's supposed to be a little stage play about characters who have problems and try to solve them and do it badly and work something out in the end. Pretending that our dumb little queer Bae Wolf movie is history is the height of narcissism and folly. And we would only call attention to how silly our movie is in the worst possible way if we all tried to fake 6th century Danish accents. I mean, what does that even sound like? I'm willing to venture that no one actually knows what that sounds like. So, why would we, with our $37,000, be the ones to recreate a dead dialect? No, this is not a period piece. All we have to do is be immersive enough in production design that people aren't distracted from the story and the characters because something in the scene is so out of place. As long as there's a broad consistency and a consistent nod toward medieval tropes, then we've done our job. But we didn't overthink it. And I did have some of my costumers and my armorers try to shove us toward what they imagined was authenticity and realism. And I always just said, no, we're going to wear modern work boots, and the swords are just going to be swords. And I don't care if the armor is an older style of armor than Danes would have worn in the year 500. No, these things are not important. That's not what this movie is about. And why would you want to spend years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars making a movie whose point is to accurately capture armor design? What a waste of time. Who gives a shit? People care about story. They care about characters, and they want characters they can understand. Why would you put an obstacle between the characters and the viewer? And by that, I mean, why would you put an indecipherable period authentic accent in English, no less, between, what are we going to do? Perform this thing in Old Danish? Anyway, why would it would be stupid of me to put unnecessary barriers between these characters and the people who are going to be watching this movie, who are 95% 2022 Americans, right? So just let those people don't make them work to enjoy your dumb Bae Wolf movie.
I was going to say, I love that summary, because it is a poem that was written in a period, and it wasn't about the period. It was a poem about things happening. And we've talked about this with Shakespeare. We've talked about this with a lot of things where people try to roll in so much authenticity to a story that is easily portable to something more familiar and without the weight of, because we were watching, the last bit of Vikings, when we had like people representing 5 different countries and everybody's speaking of the actual language, and it's nothing but fucking subtitles down below. And I was like, okay, this isn't helping. I get that they don't speak the same language, but Jesus, is it really a lot of effort for, you know what I mean?
For no payoff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think there's definitely something to putting, kind of stories like this into a linguistically accessible way. Because if you think about it, there were the series that started on YouTube by, I can't remember the name of the website, but like Drunk History, where it was just someone who was drunk telling a historical story, right?
You're talking about, Drunk History. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that this story was told kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And I had a friend who used to tell like biblical and mythological stories in his own very unique and modern way. And I just loved listening to him tell stories.
Right. And so Bae Wolf is the setting we're positing is fun to play in, and it helps us easily sell the idea of these monsters and also these con men and women who are pretending to be monsters, right? We needed a world where that was feasible, and where we didn't have to do a ton of work to set up both the existence of monsters and the existence of con people playing monsters, right? Hence the setting for Bae Wolf. But what Bae Wolf is really about is is outsiders seeking acceptance and screwing it up very badly. And that's a very, I mean, I actually would, I hope that that's an eternal, a permanent, an ancient problem for human beings, right? We've always, for as long as we've stood upright, wanted to be accepted in our group,
right?
In all kinds of groups. And we've often struggled to find that acceptance. So that's not necessarily an exclusively modern problem, but it's definitely a modern problem. And that's what we wanted to really talk about, but to do it in this context that, where the outsiders are way outside because they're monsters, right? And it's a lot harder to create that kind of context in a modern setting where you'd first have to work really hard to explain why there are monsters. You don't have to do that in the world of Bae Wolf because there are monsters everywhere, or at least what appear to be monsters everywhere.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because that story, I don't know why, but I find myself thinking about shows from the 90s where they try this very same thing, but in a sitcom fashion, Square Pegs, Freaks and Geeks, where the whole premise would be, you know, from Grendel's point of view, where, you know, my ass is being kicked to the curb all the time and no one wants to play with me or talk with me and they're all throwing things at me and stuff. Of course, on a sitcom, they don't go on a murdering spree, but, you know, that's the thing. Just because it happened in a time and place when the origin, like I said, this is so portable, the basic elements of this, it could go in any kind of contemporary. You could apply it to another fantasy setting. You could do a ripoff of Game of Thrones and just focus on, you know, the principles of the story, you know, of Bae Wolf with doing all these different things. But I think the way you put it, accessible dialogue.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Is, I think, the key. And I have found myself disinterested and frankly turned off on what looked to be some really wonderful shows with great performances, a lot of good technical stuff going on. But I just can't ride along with the dialogue. I can't do it. It gets to a point where it's painful. And it seems like it's trying to be the bigger part of the set dressing rather than conveying the story, sort of thing.
Right. And we as a production did not have the time and the depth of training necessary to pull off dialect. So this is once again an example of our resources shaping how we actually make this movie. I mean, I have some very good and experienced actors in my roster. And Morgan and Cleve have done great work on a whole bunch of movies, but not everyone in our production some had never been on camera before. Mm-hmm. So asking those folks for very little money or no money, I mean, our extras didn't get paid, asking them to step into a production in a COVID environment where we couldn't do a lot of readings and rehearsals beforehand, asking them to step into a production and in this frantic, fast-moving environment with spider bites and disease to now affect a designed English language, old Danish accent at the same time is unrealistic. There's just no way we could pull that off.
Right.
If an expensive Netflix movie can't do it, then we certainly can't.
I think if you get like an international distribution, I think you should go whole hog and have Stephan do an ADR. And instead of actually translating like each person, just kind of do a straight through narrative storytelling style. And then Freya said, but have him do it in Danish. I think.
Yeah, don't tempt Stephan. He'll do it.
Hey, I would do it. I would watch. So I could listen. Why don't we get some advice for first timers? I actually want to start with Stephan, because the word producer in filmmaking is such a...
Well, it's very nebulous. It can mean a lot of things.
It is. It's very ethereal. It's so see-through and non-tangible sometimes. As a starting point, you could start with, when this came to you from a producer's mindset, what did you see and how did that appeal to you? And, like someone is thinking, okay, I want to make a movie. I've got some money. I've got a few people. From a production level, from a producer standpoint, what comes next? So kind of like you have the whole thing. So someone says, David comes up and says, okay, here's a script. I'd like to make this. Now, as a producer, what's your firing sequence in your head?
Okay. Will I meet lots of people? Will I have fun at it? And will I have to do nothing in my job, my usual day-to-day job, I'm an engineer. I have to do lots of planning, talk to lots of people, get them around, get to do things for the project to end. And so in my spare time, I want to be part of something bigger, but where I kind of I don't have to really do anything because David is doing it. I'm happy to say I'm that kind of producer. I know I give him the money, and I might make suggestions to the script if he asks for it or if I have a great idea, but I never will ever try to tell him what to do. I'm just happy to be part of this, and I'll do things from like going shopping for food in the middle of the night. The funniest thing that ever happened was he calls me and says, we just lost our main actress in the middle of filming and we need a body double. And I'm in Irmo State Park and I look around and there's a woman like with the hair and height and says, hey, my name's Stephan. I'm a producer of a movie. We need someone. Do you have time? And in about 15, 20 minutes, we had another double for our actress.
Wow.
That
doesn't sound scammy at all. Hi, I'm a producer.
It worked. It was kind of hilarious. How did I get into producing? I also don't know what a producer does, really, except of like having fun with it and handing some money over to the director. I helped producing the first movie that David did. It's called The Theater Girl. I got to know about The Theater Girl from a group of people who do like movies, like a movie showing in Columbia, South Carolina. And somebody sent me a link and saying, hey, this is Indiegogo. They just looking for donations for a movie. Would you like to donate? And so I go Indiegogo and I'm at home. I'm by myself. I'm listening to Queen. I Want It All. And so I go to Indiegogo and I look, it's a $25, this is $30, there's a $50. What's at the end of the spectrum? Oh, producer. Okay, that sounds good. I'm drunk at the time, so I click on the producer button. And the next thing I know is like, I'm a producer of a movie. And it was kind of fun, so I just kept doing it.
That's awesome.
Hey, I love it.
That's how I got into producing. And it's to me, it's like, I know I will never, don't go into it with saying, I want to make some money with movies. That's not what B movies are about. Movies were like, I want to help people. I want to be part of a journey and of an adventure. And I'm just lucky enough that there are people in Columbia, South Carolina, of all places, who I can help realizing their journey and they can help me realizing the adventure. And we have other producers who don't participate. But I'm the one who's always there on set. I take vacation just to be on set, just to be there, be an extra, be the guy who dies 9 times, or be the guy who drives to get new makeup from Walmart if needed.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was very long. Okay.
Oh, no, that was perfect. That was perfect. Brendan.
Hey there.
From a cast
advice.
crew person's perspective. I meet you at a coffee shop because we overheard someone talking and it's like, yeah, man, I'm looking at, pulling together a movie too. What do you got for folks?
Well, keep in mind of the people that are assembled here. I was kind of one of the last people to come on board. David gave me everything well ahead of production, but and was in contact with him, but my job didn't really start till we were there setting the place up. So the position that I was in was a lot of troubleshooting and, moment to moment, day to day on-set management. And we mentioned before at the start of this that, when you're in the indie space, but I would say even with professional budgets, anywhere you are in filmmaking, it's just like going to war. Like the moment you meet the enemy, your plan goes out the window. You'll hear that a lot about the value of flexibility, about the value of rolling with the punches, and you cannot stop and say everything's fucked. You have to have a solution. You have to keep going. But within that, I would caution everyone: do not take from that means there's no value in planning.
Right.
We were able to overcome and keep going and pull it together and get the train down the tracks because David had everything planned out very meticulously, and because he had collaborated with Stephan, with myself, with Cleve, with the rest of the production company, with Mike Amison, costumes, wardrobe, with Sherman Gillis, who owns Eastwind Castle, who was also providing, a number of services like weaponry and armory. All of that collaboration, all of that planning, all of that time put into getting everyone on the same page before we got together, and it all went sideways. So while flexibility and troubleshooting are, especially for key crew members like an assistant director, that flexibility is really sort of the biggest thing that you bring to the table, but it has to be within understanding the schedule, understanding the script, understanding the director's vision and the needs of the production. So biggest piece of advice, I guess, to go along with what you'll already hear everyone say is my advice here is don't ever take that to mean that there's no value in very meticulous, very specific planning. Always plan it out, always write it down. And from there, you'll be able to survive all of the unexpected and disappointing setbacks that occur in the course of filmmaking.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I love it. David, you're up next.
So this begins the next 3 hours of the podcast as I try to impart years of pain and suffering and hard-won lessons. So, my first advice to beginning filmmakers is reconsider your life choices and don't make movies. Okay, if you're...
That actually mirrors, it was Eric, right?
No, it was Dean.
Dean said the same thing. If you can stop.
If you can literally do anything else with your life.
Yep. If you can just be like, nope, I don't want to do this and walk away from it, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. So I think I live in the basement of the film industry, like the sub basement. I have a day job and I will never quit my day job because I'm good at it and it pays my bills and it's stable. So filmmaking I do because I have to, right? Because I need it. It's my art. It's my expression. It's the thing I'm going to leave behind for whatever that's worth. It's how I engage with the world around me. It's how I engage with strangers. I don't make movies because I'm going to be successful, rich, famous, or happy. I do it because I can't not do it, right? So if you're in that sad boat where you have to make a movie, okay, so wow, God, script, of course, is everything. And if your script sucks, you're going to struggle to make a good movie. And so don't think that you can shortcut the process by breezing through your scripting. If you're writing your own movie, take your time, do it right, get notes, take the notes seriously. Always try to imagine that you are someone watching this movie and that you have no vested interest in watching it. You're just a stranger who dropped, $5 on a rental. And try to imagine from their point of view whether they're wasting their time. If you're using someone else's script, then, collaborate closely with them and go through the same process. Get notes, try to imagine your audience's point of view. Ask yourself why you're telling the story that you're telling and whether it's worth telling. And make sure that what you're writing is something you can execute when it comes time to, roll tape, so to speak. So having settled on a script, you need money. Do not assume that you are going to have as much as you think you need and that other people are just going to give it to you. Most of my movies are mostly self-financed. I'm unmarried. I don't have kids. I don't have fun, and I don't do things except make movies. So, some people scuba dive for fun. I make movies. So I pay for most of them myself. And you should internalize that expectation that you are going to spend your own money. So how much of your own money do you have? Figure out how much you've got and what can you do with that money that you have. Don't think of people as a free resource. People are not free. And if you want to make more than one movie, sorry, can you guys hear my landscapers?
No.
Just you.
Oh, thank goodness. I've got some very noisy landscapers. Right. Anyway, so don't think of people as a free resource because they're not. If you want to make exactly one movie and to come out of that production with no friends and a horrible reputation, then you can not pay people, right? You can bring people in. You can squeeze all the time and energy and passion out of them that they have to offer, and then you can throw them away. And you're done making movies. You'll never make another movie ever again. If you want to make more than one movie, which is to say, if you want to get good at it, then you better take care of your people. You don't have a lot of money, and everyone knows that. But show your people that you value them by paying them something, even if it's $5. Pay them something. Make people your biggest budget line item because they are your most important resource. Good luck making a movie all by yourself. You can't. And so take care of your people. That said, do not surround yourself with toxic people. Surround yourself with people who want to make movies, for the right reasons, who are team players, who value who value making the best possible movie over the strict rules of, the quote unquote rules of filmmaking. So for example, on Bae Wolf, we really struggled with one of our hair and makeup artists who was so married to job titles and the sort of workflow of a union picture. And we're not a union picture, right? We were too cheap for that. That she flatly refused to do the things we needed her to do to get people in front of camera with makeup and hair done. So if someone wandered into hair and makeup and they were quote unquote a producer, she wouldn't interact with them in any way except as a producer. I guess she's imagining like Harvey Weinstein wandering into hair and makeup. But we'd send Stephan to go buy batteries or to go buy alcohol or rubbing alcohol or whatever we needed. And Stephan, yes, is a producer and he's very, very valuable, but he also runs errands. So if I send Stephan into hair and makeup to go get more rubbing alcohol for you, don't refuse to work with him because he's quote unquote a producer and that's below him, right? You need to surround yourself with team players. And when you identify people who are not team players, you need to get rid of them as fast as possible. Clean break and move on with the people who support making movies, even if they're just tiny, weird, little, dumb movies. So surround yourself with people who align with your vision for making movies. Okay, moving on. So you've got your script. You've got enough money to pay everybody a little bit. You've got equipment, or maybe you don't have equipment. All right, fine. When it comes to equipment, do not think that your camera is going to save you. So there are a lot of filmmakers who are camera nerds, and I'm a camera nerd. I love my cameras. More importantly, I love my lenses. And that's one point, which is your lens is way more important than your camera. But your camera is way less important than your shot choices. So as you begin designing your actual shots, right? So you make a shot list, you break down your script. Here are all the shots I need to get coverage for the scenes in order to have enough material to edit this thing together into a movie that looks like a movie, right? So as you're designing your shots, your expensive camera that you nerded out over on Facebook and that you argued with your friends about and that you spent $5,000 or more buying is not going to save you if your shot list is dumb. So pick interesting shots and sorry, you can surely hear my landscaper now.
Nope.
God, wow. Okay, incredible. So anyway, pick interesting shots. Pick shots that tell the story in the way the story wants to be told, and make interesting choices with your shots. Put your camera in weird places. Make your camera move. Don't worry so much about staying in focus all the time. Just catch up as fast as you can. Inject some energy into your shots because why not? What do you have to lose by trying something interesting and new? And your expensive camera, if anything, is going to be heavy and bulky and precious and is going to slow you down. Pick a camera that can shoot. I mean, hell, these days you don't even really need a 4K camera, and we can talk about that if you want, but because 4K is mostly a lie. Pick a camera that shoots good, crisp 2K with lots of data. Pick a good lens and make interesting shots. You can shoot a fun, good-looking movie that you can get distribution for, and you might even make a little money on with a camera that costs you, the body can cost you $100, right? Like I've shot a lot of stuff on Canon EOS M's, and those are $100 camera bodies. They're super flexible. The image is pretty good, compatible with a wide range of lenses, and that's all you need. And you can break them, you can drop them, you can get them wet, you can throw them away, you can buy a new one for nothing and keep rolling, right? So worry less about your technically impressive camera and worry more about using that camera in interesting ways. Okay. So you now got your equipment. The number one technical mistake that young filmmakers make is not paying nearly as much attention to sound as they should. So it's okay if you shoot a kind of crappy looking movie. It's not okay if you shoot a crappy sounding movie.
Yes.
I don't know why that is.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I don't know why that is. It's one of the great mysteries of filmmaking that I will long ponder, which is why is sound more important than picture? It is. So your movie must be, you must get good, clear sound recordings on set. And you should mix those high in the mix so that your movie is clearly audible. And if it's not, you're in big trouble. You may as well just fold it up and start over. If you can close your eyes and listen to the movie and it sounds okay, then it's okay if every third shot is underlit or slightly out of focus. People will forgive a crappy shot a lot faster than they'll forgive a crappy sound take. So really focus on sound. Generally, that means you need to hire someone who's good at recording sound and either comes with their own equipment or knows how to use yours. So on Bae Wolf, our most expensive crew member was our sound guy, our boom operator. And he was also our most experienced in terms of like working on big, expensive productions. So, that's the one thing we really could not cut corners on. Everything else you can kind of, shave off a little bit here and there. But no, we spent a lot of money hiring a good sound guy, and we took care of him. We treated him with the level of professionalism that he brought onto set, which was considerable. And he was the most important, from a technical standpoint, the most important aspect of the production. So spend money on sound. Even if you have to cut corners somewhere else, spend money on sound. Okay, so let's see. We've got cameras, we've got sound. We're shooting our movie. Don't value, like I mentioned with hair and makeup. Don't value process over getting your shots. The whole point of being on set is to get shots, right? Because the whole point of shooting a movie is to get into the edit, which is where you actually make your movie, right? So you're on set to get shots. And if there's anything that's happening on set that is not helping you get shots, you need to eliminate that, right? So things like, the chain of command of what this particular producer does, what this particular grip does, what this particular PA does, the process of setting up a shot and getting everyone in their places, even slating a shot is unnecessary. I mean, chances are you're making a movie that you as the director are going to have a heavy hand in editing. You know where the shots are. Don't worry so much about slating it. Just get your damn shot, right? And if conditions are perfect for a good shot, get it. Don't let anything slow you down. You are on set to get shots. And if you've done your work, you have scheduled your movie down to 15 or 20 minutes at a time, and you know exactly how many shots you need to get in a day in order to get through the production in the time that you have. So get those damn shots, whatever it takes. And anyone you have to, shove into a basement, any corner you have to cut, anyone you have to fire, any process you have to eliminate to get your shots, do that. Get your damn shots. The shots are everything. Doesn't matter if you're cool. Doesn't matter if you look good or sound good doing it. Get your damn shots. Right. Okay. So you've shot your movie. Now you've got a big hard drive full of stuff. And now it's time to actually make a movie, right? So you're going to sit down and edit your movie. Make your movie as short as it can possibly be. Because you are making a very cheap movie for people who know they're watching a very cheap movie. And hopefully you've given them a couple fun ideas and a couple fun performances to keep them interested. But their attention is an extremely precious resource. They are blessing you with their attention. Do not take that for granted. So give them the movie and get it over with. Do not waste their time. So I love to make, for me, an 80-minute movie is perfect. And fortunately, distributors are getting more flexible. Some distributors will distribute a quote unquote feature that's 70 minutes long. And we may get that down even lower.
Nice.
Used to be like 90 minutes was the standard. Now it's 80, getting towards 70. We may get towards 60. And that's for a lot of reasons. Digital distribution, people's attention spans are changing. Expectations are different, whatever. Fine. Make your movie as short as it can possibly be. And that means killing your babies, right? It means as you're editing your movie, there may be scenes that you love that someone else, that the rest of the world might not. And you love them for the wrong reasons. You love them because you were on set or because you wrote that scene and something happened in the writing, or that writing has some connection to you on a personal level, or something fun happened on set while you were shooting it that made that scene fun. And you're tempted to keep it for your own selfish personal reasons. Don't. Eliminate it. Cut it. Get rid of it. You are a slave to your audience. Those people are your boss, right? So give them exactly what they need to appreciate the story and no more, and then get out. Like I said, don't waste their time. How you get to that point as an editor is really tricky. If you're editing your own movie, it may help to have outside perspective on your cuts. So get a rough cut, show it to somebody you trust. Hopefully they have the courage to tell you where you suck, and you should take that note seriously. If you don't, and you're on your own editing, Godspeed. I would just say your touchstone is make this thing as fast and short as possible. Okay, so you're editing your movie. Please learn the basics of color correction. There are a few handy tricks to color your movie, to color correct your movie, and avoid the cliches. So the visual cliches today are very engineered color schemes. In other words, correcting your movie way beyond what looks real. Mm-hmm. So like it's really popular to do these opposite color palettes, like orange and teal, right? So you'll see a lot of movies and TV shows where all the skin tones look orange rather than peach, the white skin tones, that is, look orange rather than peach. It's because they've color corrected the movie to have these orange and teal peaks. I don't know where that cliche came from. It's horrible. And there are shows in movies I can't even watch because there are no natural skin tones, there are no natural sky tones. Everything is orange or teal. So I would avoid that. I would also avoid washing out your movie too much. It's also a cliche, especially with genre pictures, to leach the color, to desaturate the color,
right,
to make it look grimmer, I guess, as though people want grim, which is not at all true. So, embrace color, embrace natural color palettes, and avoid these visual cliches. Okay, so now we've colored our movie. We've cut it. We've colored it. Sound design. Like I said, clear, audible dialogue is the most important thing. So lift that in your mix. Once you've done that and lifted it, you need to begin layering your sound design, by which I mean, even if it's barely perceptible, think about ambient sound, think about sort of the sonic atmosphere that actually does a lot of lifting on a story level. So like in Bae Wolf, for example, there are, aside from the dogs, who are actually our cast and crew's dogs who wandered into our shots, aside from the dogs and the horse, the one horse, there are no animals in Bae Wolf because animals are a nightmare to manage on set.
Right.
We didn't have the time, we didn't have the resources, and I'm scared of them. So, but the village of Heorot feels like a village in part because there are ambient animal sounds in all of the outdoor village shots, especially during the daytime. So you'll hear chickens, you'll hear goats, and they're not there. We didn't have chickens and goats on set, but I folded that into the sound mix in order to create the impression that this village is bigger and more teeming with life than it actually is. So think about your sound mix, add layers, add depth, but don't ever bury your dialogue. Okay, so now you've got your sound mix and you need to score your movie. Music is important, but don't think that music makes a movie. It doesn't. So picture tells you what's happening in a scene. Music can tell you how to feel about it, right? So make strategic choices in either buying, licensing or commissioning compositions for your score, that you pick key moments in the film where it's really important for the audience to feel a certain way, where it's not really negotiable. And those are the moments where you use score to communicate feeling, right? So pick those moments, but it can't be every scene. So you score the scenes where the feeling is imperative. The climax of the movie, for example, a big confrontation between two characters, a moment of introspection for the lead character. These are the moments that you score, and you score them consistent with the feeling that that the audience needs to take away from the scene. Okay, so now you've scored your movie, and so what have you got? You've got a cut of the movie. It's mixed, it's colored, it's scored, it's 80 minutes long. Are you guys bored yet?
No. When we do calls over Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom has a habit of sending a kick-out signal, and then the recording will stop, and I just have to hit record again. So
okay.
I'm just watching because peripherally it's really weird looking.
No, cut all this out, please. This is me rambling. Anyway, so now, hey Brandon, you still with us? So anyway,
this was not in the schedule. This was not planned. You're way over time.
Right. Okay. So you've got your movie. Now what? Good for you. You spent 2 years of your life and you maxed out all your credit cards and pissed off all your friends and ruined all of your credibility and probably wrecked your health and your self-esteem to make your stupid fucking movie.
It'd be great because that was a lot of adversity.
Yeah. So now what? Now what do you do with your dumb fucking movie? All right. So you got to. It depends on what you want, right? I mean, if you just made a movie to show your friends, that's great. So just put it on YouTube and show your friends. If you made a movie to make a little money, to get closer to being a professional filmmaker, to reach a wider audience, then you've got to distribute your movie. And that's really hard. That's way harder. So the hardest part of filmmaking is raising money. The second part is distributing your movie. So you need probably a sales agent. I cannot tell you where to get one. I have no idea. I met mine somewhere on Facebook. And so far he's done great work for us and we are blessed to have him because if we didn't, we would be screwed. So you need a sales agent. You need to lie, cheat, scam, network, bribe, threaten. You need to do whatever it takes to find someone who can represent your film and get it to a distributor who then will get your movie onto the platforms where you stand some chance of making money and building an audience. That's like Amazon Prime, Tubi, Vudu, iTunes. If you're hot shit, you might get on one of the big streaming services like Shudder or Hulu or something like that. But we don't live there. We live in the Tubi and Amazon Prime world, which is fine. You can make money there. It's fine. Anyway, you still need an agent and a distributor to get there. Your distributor is probably going to rip you off. It happens most of the time. There are lots of distributors. Most of them are criminal enterprises, and they will take your movie. They will kind of emotionally manipulate you into signing a deal that is entirely in their favor, and that makes it impossible for you to ever make a penny on the movie. They might, but you won't. And then you've made a movie, you've gone into debt, and you're never going to see a penny. And if you don't mind, then that's fine. Then sell to a distributor and forget about it, right? And then move on to the next thing. At least you haven't embarrassed yourself, but you're not going to make any money. If you want to make money, you need to find a distributor who's going to split the money with you, hopefully 50-50 on $1. There's not some complicated calculation like, yeah, you get paid out after certain overhead fees and we calculate that this way. No. You split $1, 50-50. So find a distributor that loves you and your movie enough to split $1 with you. And then you got to stay on top of them because they're either busy, negligent, or criminals. And they will not pay you unless you stay on top of them. So find a distributor who's going to split $1 with you. You've got to do that. Okay. So now you've gotten distribution for your movie. You're still not done. Now you wait a year. Your distributor is going to drop that movie, maybe with some warning, some heads up to you. Probably not. So the movie drops. Hopefully there's some kind of coherent plan for rolling it out to various platforms. There may not be. I can almost guarantee you that if you're living in the same basement that we do, there's not going to be any marketing. So now you have to market your movie or no one's going to see it. So now you've raised your money, you've written your script, you've raised your money, you shot your movie, you edited your movie, you built the representation you need in probably shameful ways to sell your movie to a distributor who may rip you off. You've finally gotten your movie out. You're staying on top of your distributor. Your distributor's not lifting a finger to market the movie. So that's on you. So now you need to market your movie by creating a press release, by cutting trailers, cutting teasers, and by, like I did with you guys, you've got to find podcasters and critics and YouTubers who you like, who think will appreciate your movie. You probably need to find a couple hundred of them, and you need to contact every single one of them and be nice and appreciate their work so that they can appreciate your work. And, think of marketing your film as your new part-time job. And so now your movie's finally out and you're marketing it. You get like a month prior to your quote unquote release date and then a month after to market your movie. And then nobody cares anymore. So your movie lives in that 60-day span of time. I mean, it'll live on various digital distribution platforms forever, but it's going to have heat for like that 2-month period. Right. And that's it. If you get any heat at all. And so that's your window to make that 2 or 3 year process pay off. So you better take that window seriously and be humble and be grateful for any attention you can get and market the shit out of your stupid little movie so that someone notices it. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, it catches on enough to kind of live somewhere in the culture for a few years or whatever. And then you can,
do it all again.
Relax, but by then you're deep into production on your next thing.
Yep.
And then you die.
There you go.
That was like half an hour.
Do it all over again. Yep.
Sorry for that.
Oh, no. That is all. It's just dead on. I mean, we've talked to like David Ryan Keith. I laughed when you were talking about distributors because he has had such a nightmare with distribution, everything you were mentioning, it happened. And just a lot of other people have run into all these different things, which goes back to the beginning. If you can walk away from this, folks, we've said it and other people have said it, walk away.
Yeah, the world does not need more movies.
Right. But, we're going to be writing until, we're dead, whether we live to, another year or into our 90s. Whether or not we make any money off these scripts, whether or not we shoot another frame of film is irrelevant. We can't not do this. We can't not come up with story ideas. We can't not go through the pains of structuring a story and creating that first draft and then wrestling and collaborating and, the satisfaction of saying, okay, this is
crying and spending 16 hours drinking coffee and
I mean, doing the marathons and trying to, still do the day jobs and, raising our daughter. And, there's just, you're in the right place when you can't imagine life without doing it, regardless of all of the pains it brings. That's what a creative does, is they create at the expense of like everything human themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a curse. Filmmaking is a curse.
I could buy that, but I would rather, I can't imagine not having this curse.
Oh, no. The only thing worse than this horrible lifestyle would be anything else.
Yeah. Be not doing it.
You can't see, but right next to me, boxes of all scripts and research. I mean, we wrote a zombie horror origin story, and we did 6 months of medical research because we're huge fans of zombies and stuff. But we're like, when you come down to nuts and bolts, how the fuck do these things work? What is,
not that any of that ever makes it into the script. We just want to know.
Made it into the first draft. We were so goddamn proud of our research. We had like 4 solid pages of just exposition on that shit. And we're like, this has got to go. this serves no purpose other than for us to tell the audience, look, we did it, man. We studied the medical journals. I can tell you more about the fucking brain nervous system and distribution of the spleen system than any non-medical person has a right to know. But yeah, we cut it. But anyway, Morgan and Cleve.
Cleve had to step out and go to work.
Morgan, what can you give folks? It doesn't have to be specifically other actors, but just as a general creative. But you have a unique perspective into the actor side. So what would you have for some folks jumping in?
For starters, I would say don't expect it to be as luxurious as you would think. There is no such thing as luxury on a low budget set, really. Apart from Stephan going and bringing little surprises back to set. But it's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of, dealing with the cold, dealing with the heat, uncomfortable costumes. Again, like you said earlier, you're going to hear no a lot. And I guess my first piece of advice, or my next piece of advice, would be to focus on the yeses. Mm-hmm. Focus on the compliments you get. Focus on the things that you're doing well. And listen to the constructive criticism, but don't let the destructive criticism break you off of it completely. Because It is, to me, I struggle with mental illness a lot, and acting is just one of the most freeing things. You literally don't have to be you. You have all this, you have these gorgeous sets around you. You can just dive into a character and just escape for a while. And I think that's what got me into it initially, is I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. I would also say that you have to know your lines. It seems really obvious, but for me personally, in my opinion, there's no way that you can properly emote and feel what you're saying and what your character's doing if you don't first know the script and understand how, like, where those words are coming from in your character. Like, don't just know the lines, feel the lines, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just say on that, and we've talked about this for, actors who listen, you do have to know the script. You have to understand it. You have to talk with the writers and the director and stuff to understand what the whole expectation of all this is, because an actor is the single most important part of all of this, because, a first grader can put words on paper like we can. A monkey can hit on a camera. Now, yes, there are varying degrees of skill that make that all worthwhile, but none of that is worthwhile until you have that individual who brings
the person who brings it
the
to life,
right? Lives the story for the camera to film and express the words. But yeah, if you don't know what everyone's expecting of it, because unlike life, right? So you can think warrior princess, strong, this, that, and stuff, but you're not going to organically experience every minute of her life up to the moment where David says action, and then just keep living. Yeah, you have to formulate it. So I find that the most remarkable in all of this. Whether it's on film, whether it's on stage, right? Actors to me are, I mean, I know you get no's and you probably get the brunt of the worst in this kind of creative business. But yeah, hold on to that. Just, having a bad day, not just Morgan, but anybody, you are doing something that so very few can do. And you're doing something that gives purpose to people like the rest of us, the writers. And, the crew members. I mean, you got to light it. You got to, have sound. You got to have the stage. You got to have the props. You got to have all this. You got to have everything to make it all work visually. But the single most important part, boom, is the performance, spoken or not, right? Because we've seen some excellent performances with no words.
Exactly. And I think that's a good, like, when I get told no, a good thing I like to think of is, I want this movie to be the best, or this show or this project to be the best that it possibly can be. And if my acting style or my look doesn't fit that, I'm not going to be offended by that no. So people, like, if you're starting out, like, it's not personal. Like, you're not being personally attacked by being told no.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did take it personally for, the first couple times.
Well, it's hard not to, you know, at first.
We did.
Until,
like, oh, that's it. We're done with this bullshit. And then common sense prevails.
When you're a 16-year-old girl in high school, like, it can be tough. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think about it and I'm like, would I rather be me, who has this privilege of, starring in movies, like, holy shit. Or would I rather be somebody who's sitting there, probably sad, probably lonely, just pumping hate out about something that people put hours of work into. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather be me. And I'm happy with that.
That's so cool. See, now at 16, I speak about actors as giving them so much credit, and I have so much admiration because I tried it. 16, I played Shylock, in Merchant of Venice. Thought, I'm going to do this. And it was a silly little, like, podunk high school performance. I'm like, oh, they even ever heard of Shakespeare? Not to be rude, but I'm just going to be honest. But it happened, and I think I did a pretty good job. I had a lot of fun, but I also realized I don't ever want to do this again, ever. And we did a little short film, we won't get into, but like everyone else, I had to fill in a part. We needed a guy walking with his wife who bumps into the character as he comes in. That's it. I'm like, okay, I'll do it because we can't hire anybody to do it. And I don't have to say anything, but don't worry about it, and then leave. And then act all pissy, which I can do really good without acting, But even that was like, oh, I just want this shit to be over, you know. And the director's like, oh, let's do it again. Like, fuck me. Can we not? Can you just do close-ups of the reaction for the title character and just pretend I hit him? But yeah, all of this, and this is what we say, all of this. So from the actor who makes it all happen, that's like the cherry on the top of the whole sundae that's built from the ground up, and that's all the production work, everything that Stephan, Brendan, David have talked about. Is you build this whole mountain and then you have this one element on top that makes it come to life. But all of this painstakingly constructed, say, sundae, right? That's the payoff. And the funny thing is it might not even taste good at the end. It's that whole thing of like my grandmother used to cook Thanksgiving dinner, right, when she was alive. And it was huge, massive. She would never eat. She would never sit down and eat it, though. Never once in my lifetime till she passed away did she sit and eat Thanksgiving dinner with the rest of us, because she's like, oh, it just isn't going to taste good, because she just got done cooking it. Now, the next day, she'd go whole hog on that stuff, and it was delicious. But there's that moment, you know, once you get to all of the end of this, it might be so soon after putting it all together. Like David said, you know, you're just like, ugh. But then, you know, you should be into the production of your next film. Start that whole process again. You know, for an actor, you should be lining up your auditions or on your way to the next one, you know, around the time you're going to hear about the last one or the one before that. You just keep doing it. And
that's one of the things I love about it is like growing up, I like never knew what I wanted to do. So acting is perfect because I could do everything. Like I could be a doctor one day, a soldier the next day, a zombie the next day. Like it's so versatile, and I feel like it keeps my life really interesting.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we are all very fortunate.
Yeah.
To be however you want to look at it, gifted or cursed, to be crammed into this creative world. And I've said many times on the episodes prior that to be a true creative, Danny and I always refer to ourselves as mental defectives. You can't be 100% right in the head by normal standards, because nobody wants to say, I'm going to get into something that, whether it's a primary job or not,
probably never make money on.
Yeah, probably never make money on, has no guarantee of anything. Even if I got a job on like a TV show, that could be over and I'll never work again. I'm always told, no, my ideas are shit. We can't do that. And then we add it up and we're like, yep, I'm in.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something wrong up here, but I think it's something we all share. So, and for us, we're extremely gifted in that, you know, doing this podcast creation thing over the last 2 years.
Meet all kinds of cool people like you guys.
Oh man, yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic. Sorry, Cleve had to go.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thank all of you for coming on and talking to us for as long as you did. I feel very privileged to have gotten to hear all of you.
So yeah, you know, thanks to everybody for taking the time. Bae Wolf is just a fantastic film. We loved it for so many reasons. Listeners,
go watch it.
You need to watch it, and you need to. I can't stress this enough. I find I have a very personal attachment to this piece. Watch it and see how it is correctly done to introduce not just gender swapping, but LGBTQ. Right? Because that is a formula that nobody's teaching anywhere. And if they are, they're doing it wrong. This hits it on the head. And if for no other reason, and there are plenty of other reasons, but if there were no other reason, I would hail this movie just for that one achievement. So folks, writers, directors, actors, everyone see it.
Yeah, it's on Tubi. And
yep, it's on Tubi. That'll be in the show notes. Any other kind of things we'll add in the show notes by the time this rolls out. Folks, you know how that goes. So we have Stephan Jensen, Brendan Thompson, David Axe, Morgan and Cleve. I just love looking at that. who did just so many things. I wish we could have talked to Cleve real quick about Shaper. I just want to say I think that was a beautiful name for
I love it.
The bard, right? The shaper of the story. And I don't want to start a whole new conversation, but I talked about it in the episode. One of the greatest things was, in the stories.
Shaper means shepherd in German.
Oh, does it?
Oh.
So he might be the shepherd of the story.
That still works. Because one of the things we loved was just the really quick, so many shapers have taken my story, but they always turn me into a fucking man. What is with that? I love that. And then it was just left alone. I'm like, I get it. Yep. And we were joking. It's like, oh, Bae Wolf didn't travel with her penis phone. So no, she wasn't being heard unless she was depicted as a man. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much. And listeners, we hope that, again, you see it, watch it, learn from it, and share it. Because this is one of those that it needs to get out and get around. And aspire, folks. Aspire.
These interviews are so much fun.
They really are.
And I hope that you guys enjoy listening to them as much as we enjoy doing them.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have a 30-minute hardcore crash course on how this whole mess works.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to David Axe's TED Talk.
Yeah. On
filmmaking.
Oh, God. No.
It was really good, though. Like, everything in it was extremely useful and,
oh, absolutely,
pertinent information.
Yes. It leaves nothing to the imagination. And I mean, I don't know what else there is. I mean, those are the big points.
Yeah.
Right. There's minutia with each of those.
Mm-hmm.
That, like with the distributor and stuff, there's a lot more finer detail.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But the simple thing of, find somebody who won't fuck you, who won't rip you off.
Here's what I really appreciated about like this interview and talking with David and, his whole spiel, especially, is that he's not glamorizing the process of indie filmmaking. He's not romanticizing it.
No.
I know a lot of people start out trying to get into this with the thought of like, oh, I'm going to make a movie and it's going to get, it's going to go far. And I mean, when we were talking to Failure Boys Productions,
right.
They talked a little bit about how, our first movie, we were like, ooh, we did a thing and now we're going to be famous. And that's not how it works.
No. And, well, for some,
and if
it does.
That's what you're in. Well, I mean, but I think not without an enormous amount of, effort and luck and pixie dust. But if that is what you are trying to do with filmmaking, then don't.
Well, no, you can't go into it with that goal. You have to go into it. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to make this movie. Put all the reasons aside. The core thing is this is what you want to do. This is what you have to do.
Well, yeah. You do it because you can't not do it.
Right. And so many conversations on that with people. I think, like with Failure Boys, it shows, because we have seen so many good movies that, an indie film needs to be broken down into so many different like level categories.
Yeah.
Because, and not like how good a movie is, but where it sits.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk Space Trucker Bruce. Almost nobody knows about this.
I know.
Right. Handful of people. I mean, because we stumble across shit. And we've talked about how vast and deep the ocean of indie film is. There's just too many. No one is going to be a subject matter expert on indie film because nobody has the time to watch all of it. We're talking decades, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of films some of which aren't even accessible.
Yeah.
Right. Some of which I don't even know if they were like ever burned on a CD. They're sitting on like on an 8mm reel somewhere that nobody's ever looked at. This stuff has been going on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the crime with that is there are so many that are so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you even wanted to like dip your toe into becoming a sort of like subject matter expert in indie film, we and every other, like movie review and all the other weird little podcasts that do kind of, I mean, similar to what we talk about movies, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Just the ones that talk about indie movies. We would have to all get together in some sort of weird convention and like collectively pool our knowledge.
We would. And I don't think that would even be enough.
It would be a tip of an iceberg.
Because a great many of us have seen a great many of the same movies.
Yeah.
Right. But I know there are folks who are out there doing this and just doing like reviews and stuff who come across our stuff and they're like, huh? Where did you find this?
Oh, I know.
And we do the same thing.
I mean, our friends are like, where do you find these movies?
Right. It's almost like, where do you get the inspiration for these weird characters? We just put our hip waders on and out we go. Listen,
our watch history on every streaming service that we use is so out there that we don't even get recommendations for like the big main stuff anymore.
We're so far from that.
We just get recommendations for weird shit, which is our wheelhouse.
And that right there kind of sums it all up. What I was starting to say is it doesn't matter how good your movie is. Mm-hmm. Success in this industry, the number one is luck.
Yeah.
I won't even have the discussion with anyone who wants to refute it, because anyone in the industry knows it's all luck. It's not luck that you make a good movie.
No, it's talent and hard work and everything.
Hard work and making 10 shit movies to finally get it to be like, I got it now, and then make your opus, right? Mm-hmm. That's fine. But without luck, this is all for naught.
Yeah.
If you want to be discovered, it's luck. Right place, right time. They always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's kind of it.
Right person, right company, right place, right time. Right
exactly.
Market. Yeah.
We've hit the bullseye on getting attention, and then we've like with the exact same mm-hmm. approach and setup way out in left field.
Yeah.
Not even like not even in the park. And it's all right place, right time. How we got our interviews, right place, right time. There's tons of people out there who don't even know we've done their shows.
Oh yeah.
There are people we've talked to because we've covered their we've covered their shows.
And they're like, hey.
But we don't do, listeners, followers, everybody, we don't do anything. We put up Twitter posts for our episodes, and that's it. We don't have any fucking marketing. We don't have any promotion. I don't do any SEO. I spend zero time. We have over 1,400 followers. I haven't done a fucking thing. I don't chase people. I don't, hey, follow me, I'll follow you. I don't even buy into that bullshit. I've done zero advertising or marketing. But right place, right time. Somebody happened to be doing something.
Yeah.
And whether it was like a retweet and a mention by somebody they followed who does this and that, because you can reach out like to 10,000 impressions just because someone looks at something.
Yeah.
Favorites it or whatever, likes it or retweets it. Because like, oh, I know that movie.
Right.
And then bam, 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 bam. Next thing you know, the creator of a movie's reaching out to me. Hey,
yeah. You talked about my movie.
Yeah. Well, sweet. So I was like, David reached out because like he said, you got to find people like us.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to. If you have something, reach out. I don't think anybody's going to begrudge people doing that.
No.
What I don't respond to are the promoters.
Oh, yeah. Here's how to market your podcast.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Well, first of all, they all use the same template.
Yeah.
That was written by a non-primary English speaker because it is so poorly constructed but so many people just keep using it. It's part of their like business template. You know, they saw a reel on Instagram and they're like, oh, I'm going to get a side gig promoting stuff, you know, makes tens of thousands of dollars a month. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Most of us don't want to be bothered with that bullshit. But anyway, anyone who's ever reached out, I'm like, yeah, we'll take a look. Now, there've been a couple instances where folks have reached out and like one wasn't even a finished film. Like I can't in good conscience.
We have to be able to see it.
We have to be able to see it. And I mean, if that means like putting a file up on Dropbox and stuff, you know, which is what we did, it wasn't finished. I mean, to the point where it was nearly unwatchable, you know, but short of that, we'll see it. And, you know, we've turned down a couple because they weren't good. They just, I mean, sitting through it, it's like, you know what? We could do this. But here's the thing. Someone goes to the trouble of finding me, wants me to see their stuff. I don't want to turn their movie into this is exactly what you don't do in every instance kind of episode.
I mean, I think we try very hard. You know, like I go into every movie wanting to enjoy it.
Well, yeah.
Because I love the art form. I love film. And anyone who's made a movie, yeah, awesome. Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But
yeah, I mean, if you can't say something, in that case, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Right. And, you know, I've been very, you know, gentle and like, you know, this just isn't something we would want to address, you know, and, you know, people might be like, fuck that guy, and fine.
Sure.
You know, however, we have gone blindly into stuff.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, this is the movie for the week. Let's dive in. And we're like, what a trash fire.
What happened?
What is going on here? Yeah. And we've had people reach out to us after that.
Yeah, I remember one where we were pretty harsh on the movie and someone reached out and was like, sorry, it wasn't your cup of tea. And we were like, sorry, man.
Right. Well, and that one was, you know, nice. But then we've had a couple people reach out who were, you know, like, you know, I don't think you understand. I want to make a movie. Dude, here's the thing. I don't need to go to school, get a master's in engineering, and then go work for an automobile company for 10 years to be able to say, this car drives terribly.
Mm-hmm.
It smells funny. It's ugly. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that to render an opinion, you know, and which we've done. I mean, well, all of these are our opinions.
Well, yeah.
We've had movies that we praise and people are like, oh, the movie was shit. Like, well, agree to disagree, you know.
Well, you and I have disagreed on movies.
Absolutely. But then there's the other side of this whole thing where when you do get that number one thing, luck, and you follow that bad boy up with hard work, good writing, all the attention to details as best as you can. We have had varying levels of technical proficiency in films.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about Fried Berry. That motherfucker is still burning the planet.
It's amazing.
Right? We're coming on 2 years. And was it, what did we, no, because we interviewed him last year this time.
I feel like
it's been so long.
So many cult hits I've come in late on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not Fried Berry. That one's just taken off. And we were there from the get-go.
We were there. Well, we saw it before it was out.
Yeah.
You know, we did the no spoiler ending, which is rare for this show, just because it hadn't been released. And then it was put off and put off and put off. And then, yeah, that was it was a January. And then it was like June-ish or August even. I can't remember. I was going through all this stuff when we talked to Ryan Kruger.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, it's still rocking. It's still burning up festivals. It's still getting recognition. They got products. They got stuff. You know, and Gary Green is riding this fucking wave, man. And good for them all.
Yeah.
And here's why. One, because that was technically well done. I mean, shit, that was Hollywood studio level quality, top to bottom. Because Ryan knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right? He had experience doing videos and some shorts. But he perfected it.
So good.
And the other thing is, with all of this, Ryan Kruger is still one of the most gracious people riding these waves.
Yeah.
You know, I follow his stuff. I, like stuff. I'll send him a comment now and again, like, good on you, man. You earned this. I keep saying it. You earned this.
Mm-hmm.
Revel in it. And he is just so joyous in his return, responses and stuff. Then, there's just so many other movies. I don't want to go through and list them all.
There's too many.
But all of these movies had the number one thing, luck, right? Where it propelled it here and there. And I'll even say David Ryan Keith with Redwood Massacre, even though he keeps saying it's such a shit movie.
It is not.
It is awesome. But David had several movies before that, and all the hard work and everything paid off, and he put that together. And that's like I call like the half and half.
Okay.
He had enough luck to get like some notice, but all the things involved in the back end were such a hassle and shit. It never got what it deserved. And like you said, it was a little before its time.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a little before its
because
time.
it was an 80s horror kind of tribute.
Yeah.
Right. Just the senseless slasher. We don't need a bunch of drama and all this stuff.
Before that all kind of took off.
Right. And, but Redwood Massacre 2 Annihilation, way better reception.
Mm-hmm.
And Redwood Massacre obviously did well enough, and his later movies and prior movies all came together to get him Danielle Harris.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just call up an agent to somebody and say, hey, I want him in this movie. Can you afford him? Yeah. And then, they're going to look at him and be like, I don't know who this fucking guy is. He doesn't have any movies, hasn't done anything. No.
Yeah.
It's a career thing. But anyway. But we have people who didn't hit that right place, right place, right time. Failure Boys. Firefly was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think that was ahead of its time also.
And Attack of the Taddy Bogle.
That's so good.
That one should have been huge. I don't know what was going on. It's hard to look at these movies and try to remember what was happening.
I mean, it is all about kind of like where and timing and what was going on at the same time. And I mean, it's a complex web.
It is. And all of that sums up the whole, if you're in this to make it, you got to have top-notch shit. And then you're going to have to keep battling right place, right time. Number one, luck.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Might as well play the lottery.
Yeah.
Right. But let's talk about putting in the work.
Yes.
Right. We mentioned a little bit last time at the end, the whole thing about producers and stuff. It's still this ethereal position that people take in a film. And we've heard, producers who go out and get Band-Aids and,
right.
just like everything, like Stephan was doing, running errands and, whatever.
Yeah.
Do whatever. And then we have producers who are like nowhere near the production.
Right. But send down orders from on high.
Yeah. Or just like, here's a check.
Right.
So it's somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
But learning your craft from a technical side. All right. So we've heard what, first AD does.
Mm-hmm.
And also isn't supposed to do, but does in an indie film.
Well, I mean, in an indie film, every single position is a multiple hats.
Right.
Right.
And you kind of have to, you need to find the people who are okay with that. And you have to be okay getting down there in the shit.
Yeah.
Because there are people I know, who want everybody to like wear different hats and stuff, but they themselves will not.
Right.
It's like, nope.
Not me.
Nope. If you need to run around, start 50 fires to get smoke, get your shit out and get going. Right. And then yell action later. You got to get into it. But number one thing, good script is what David was really on about. Without that, this is all for nothing.
Well, the script is the bones, you know?
Well, it is. Yeah. And at the very least, a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
A good foundation. The bones can be a little wobbly. That's why you have good actors who can be like, hey, so this bit here, a little weak. How about this? Or I'm thinking of, this character would do this. A good director will be like, oh yeah, let's give it a shot. So we talked about before, time is your only enemy.
Yeah.
Because everyone has so little of it in an indie film. But if you have a scene that when it's all said and done, you're ready to shoot, and it's 5 minutes, I think you can spare another 5 minutes to try it out. Let's do it by the script, and let's do it your way.
I mean, if you're already set up for the scene and...
Yeah, once that's all done. Yeah. But if you're talking about like, I want to be shot from over here and this, no, sir. We have one camera. This is where it is.
Right.
To move it, we have to shift all this shit. And that's like 4 hours of no. Yeah. But acting, huge.
Yeah.
Huge pain in the ass in the indie world.
Morgan had some good advice.
She did. And it mirrors a lot. You just got to suck it up. You're going to be told no. You're going to be told you're, for whatever reason.
Right. And it's going to be hard not to take it personally.
Right.
At least at first.
It's funny. I can't remember who, because I was just flipping through some stuff and I saw a headline, so-and-so. It's from a show we don't watch. It's on network television, where apparently one of the actors was told by a casting producer she would never be on television, refocus her energies. And she's the star of the show now. Right. So, David said, take your notes, take them seriously. And we say it always, take it seriously, but always with a grain of salt.
Right.
Pick what fits, not the shit that makes you feel good. Right. But stuff that you can see.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe that was a little stiff. If you're doing like a self audition tape, which through the pandemic was huge, that whole thing took off. As an actor, take what someone says about your performance. And if you can watch your performance, look for the truth in it.
Yeah.
With honesty, oh, that was a little wooden. Yeah. I didn't hit that one. Okay. Well, do that one 5 more times and, get into it different ways.
Yeah.
But like Morgan said, and everyone who loves doing this, find your place, find yourself and enjoy that. It doesn't mean it's always going to be, you got the part, after that.
Right.
And there's going to be people who are like, we're looking for a more blankety blank type of person or look.
Right.
And that's, that's fine. But if somebody's just like hatcheting you, nope. Because true professionals will give you hard notes.
Right.
Without making it personal and without like trying to run a bulldozer over you. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. This is tough shit. And so we're talking about all these movies. Bae Wolf here. I don't know what's going to land yet. Because, it's just kind of its going thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we're helping.
Hopefully.
Getting a little out there. And after all this was done, when we cut the interview, we did get to hear about their next film.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything. I think the 25th, I think next week, they're going to start.
Ooh.
And I was very interested in the premise.
Yes.
And I hope we can see it.
Sounded like fun.
Yeah.
I look forward to covering it.
Indeed. Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Bottom line, this was a great long interview stretched into these 2 pieces. These are fantastic people, like so many, like pretty much everybody we've had on.
Yeah.
lot to learn and a lot to look forward to, like David, hey, just put it out there. I'm making movies. I got a job. I like my job, pays my bills. That's great. This is, it's not a hobby, but
right.
What do you do with your extra money? He makes movies.
Yep.
And that's keeping this art alive in a way that's visceral, not sterile. I mean, we talked about the whole Netflix thing. We've talked endlessly about studios stifling creativity or exploiting to the point of like farcical imitation current trends and pop level things.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the studios, there's a formula, right?
Oh, always.
You follow the formula and then you get money. And that's it. Like, that's all it's about.
Here's the power of the studio. I was thinking about this. So any one of the people we've talked to, so David Axe has an idea. This first thing he's got to do, flesh it out.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to make a script. He's got to put that script in a way that is shootable, meets his approval. And then he's got to get the money, wrangle people. How long does it take to make these fucking movies? Forever.
It takes a while. Yeah.
Yeah, forever. Getting it all together, shooting it over extended periods of time. And then you've got to do your own editing and post-production and all that. Now, here's the power of a studio. What's the latest fad? Boom. This. All right. We got a room full of writers. I want something by midnight tomorrow. They'll do it. They'll pump something out. And then they're like, okay, call this guy up and we're going to direct it and we're going to book time in that studio over there. And boom, they can in 90 days
turn around a
full feature film, right? Mm-hmm. Studio level, and make money off of it because they have access to names, right? People are going to be drawn to this movie. And we've seen these things come up, movies that are topical and are just a couple months into.
Right.
And you're like, what a fucking calamity this was.
Yeah.
But 200 million other people said what a fucking calamity this was. And $825 million later, studio's like, so it was a miss.
Right.
Which, bugs me endlessly. But anyway, that's where the lesser levels come in. B movies, indie film. That is what the art is.
Yeah.
It's less commercial and more, man, if I could make a living doing this, great. But, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people, get to the point where they're actually making a good living doing it. And they're like, God, I wish, I wasn't so stifled,
Huh.
Killed by success.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of seeing that. David Ryan Keith had sent us that script. We're like, man, this I'm all for this. It was a first draft, right? Yeah. And we're like, this is good. And someone else thought it was good, but then they took it from him and gave it to somebody.
Well, I think it's why,
yeah. And he's like, I don't know what's going to happen because his umbilical to his baby was cut.
Yeah.
And it was thrown in the orphanage wagon and driven to points unknown.
Yeah. But I think it is why you see a lot of A-listers working on indie projects now.
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because how can you deal with that for, so long, especially if you've had an extended career and then there's this thriving indie film industry where instead of starting out in it, you're ending up in it because it's like, it's like working from home. If I don't have video meetings, I can work in my underwear. Nobody would know.
You do you have to be mad to want to be in an industry where success means that you no longer enjoy doing what you do.
I know.
That's wild.
And we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, So many people have left.
I know.
The acting scene. And recently even, think back 5 years, I know we were looking at something and it's just a bunch of names that, what are they doing now? Insurance sales. Just like, fuck that, man. I did my bit, made my money. I can't do it anymore. Don't like it. Don't like where it was going. Didn't like how it worked. And
I'm going down a rabbit hole now.
Yep. See Bae Wolf, people.
Yeah, see
See
it.
it.
It's on Tubi. Watch it. It's fun.
Yeah. And while you're out cruising the web looking for other things, including Bae Wolf, go to our website.
We have one of those?
We do. What is it?
lordsofmisrollproductions.com.
Made it past the www.
You don't have to mention it.
Well, I'm not like appending it. But I got to say it.
Why?
To acknowledge that you successfully managed to move past that.
Cool.
I feel like that was a huge topic last time.
It was. That's why I'm not on it this time.
Anyway.
Cool of you to bring it up.
At the aforementioned website, everything is there.
Mm-hmm.
All of our links, Patreon, social media links, pages for BF McGillicuddy and the podcast, of course, and merch and
Patreon.
Yep. Our Patreon link.
Links to contact us.
Yep.
I mean, everything's there. Everything's Gare. Everything's there.
Everything's there, Gare.
Everything's there, Gare. Go check it out, Gare.
Absolutely.
You particularly, Gare.
Is that what I got to go by Gare now?
No, I'm talking to our listener whose name happens to be Gary or Jerry or. You know.
It's hard to gauge sometimes because you're looking right at me.
I never
like with
stop.
That soul-piercing stare, like this is what you need to do, and then you say a name, and I know better than to ignore it. So I'll just be like, I guess I'm Gare today.
Do I have a soul-piercing stare?
You do.
Like constantly?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in trouble constantly.
Oh. Just most of the time.
Yeah, I definitely know when the ship has left the harbor and the waves are unruly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not an idiot.
Well, I'm aware of that.
I say that as someone who, if I truly weren't an idiot, wouldn't get those stares at all because I'd know better. But sometimes I just, yeah.
I will say, this week, I had to do something that caused me a great deal of anxiety, and you were there, like hardcore. You were my hero, and I appreciate it.
That's my job.
So.
Yeah. That's what this whole partner marriage relationship thing is all about.
You know, while I give you shit a lot.
You do.
Constantly.
I know. And Lily mirrors it.
I do appreciate you and everything you do.
So, website, stuff, Bae Wolf, find it. It's on Tubi. Might be some other places too. You know.
Probably. And we're going to talk about it a little more next week. Next week, next time.
Next episode, folks. These are being recorded in such weird things, but as you all know, we're doing it bi-weekly because I just don't have the time. But I can tell you in 36 hours from this moment, as we're speaking right now in the microphones, we will be talking with Jennifer Hill.
Yes.
Bae Wolf herself.
Yes.
All right. So that is locked on the books and ready to go. So once you digest this, share it, go see the movie, look up other stuff, look up all these people in the film. Like Morgan's been in other stuff that David's done. Jennifer's done stuff and then other stuff. Check all these folks out, you know, expand your mind, do all that. And then join us for another interview with Bae Wolf herself. And we're really excited.
Yeah.
For that one.
Well.
All right. That is going to bring another episode to a close.
Thanks for listening.
We'll talk to you
next time.
Yep. All right, B-Siders. Bye.